Hey guys, today's review is Race to Crashpoint Tower. Let's find out if this book is for every Star Wars fan, or should you leave this one for young adult readers? Stay tuned and find out. Where should I start reading? What is canon versus legends? When does the story begin? The answers to these questions is right here on Star Wars Timeline. This book was written by Daniel José Older and released in June of 2021. The storyline here takes place 231 years before Battle of Yavin, or before Episode 4, and this book is a part of the Star Wars The High Republic publishing initiative, which includes adult and young adult novels. Before we actually talk about this book, a quick shout out to its illustrator, Petur Antonsson. He did the cover for this book, and he also illustrated some pictures inside of it. I really like to give out the shout to all the artists who do portray beautiful, beautiful covers of Star Wars books, and this one is no exception. As a matter of fact, I really enjoy all of the covers that I believe the same artist has done, and they just all look really, really crisp and nice. And for me, I don't know, guys, I'm one of those fans who is a sucker for a really good book design. It's just so much more enjoyable to hold in your hands and read. It's a different experience, to be honest with you. Anyway, this book review will consist of full spoilers, guys. So full spoiler on alert. If you haven't read it, please go read it on your own. Come back and leave your comments in the sections below. Let me know. And let me know which points of this review you agree or disagree with. If you'd like to mention other items that I didn't discuss, please go ahead and do so. Anyway, let me give you a very brief synopsis of the story. There's not really that much to talk about in terms of plot. It's a shorter read, and then I'll discuss all the things that I enjoyed about this book, all the props, and things that I found not as good. Anyway, the quick synopsis is we are on the planet Valo, which we learned in the previous Star Wars book, and there's the Great Republic Fair happening where the representatives of the Coruscant and obviously the Jedi are showing their presence there to celebrating the peace and unity of the galaxy. And they're preparing for the celebration while this young Jedi Padawan, who's a new cast member, I haven't encountered him before in any Star Wars comic books or novels, called Ram Jomaram. And he works in this garage and he's tinkering with his droid. And he's alerted by his droid, actually, that this Crashpoint Tower has no signal. It's being glitchy on the same planet, Valo. And this is where our adventure begins, while in the other part of the galaxy, aboard the Jedi cruiser, the Starhopper, we meet Padawan Lula Talisola, who we see in actually Star Wars The High Republic Adventures, with her friend Zine, who is not a Jedi, but she's also Force-sensitive. And together they're briefed by the youngest Jedi Knight, Vernestra Raw. And she's saying that, something is happening and we need your help. Anyway, the friends all converge on Valo as it is being attacked by the Nile, and then Drangir assail the tower. This is where the Ram Jomaram joins with, and he makes friends with Lula Talisola and her friend Zine, and together they all work in concert to try to stop this invasion and fix the tower. This was just a synopsis, and to just go into it, guys, read it. It was a very light read. I finished it like in 2 days of casual reading. What did I enjoy about this book? What stood out to me the most? First and foremost, I gotta say, I absolutely loved the new character. He was absolutely the star of this novel, and this Ram Jomaram is basically a coming-of-age story from an interesting angle that we don't see enough in Star Wars literature. He's Force-sensitive, and he senses the world around him through machinery. He likes to basically expand his Force senses, and he tinkers around with his robot, and he also looks for other parts. And this is basically the conversations that he has with his master, where the master encourages him to sometimes not look at the details and try to glimpse into that, but actually stand back a little bit and see the whole picture in front of him. And I really enjoyed that dynamic of how they basically describe this young person's understanding of the world around him through machinery, through minute details. And part of his maturation of spiritual growth is being able to understand and evaluate the greater picture and understand where your attention is needed at the most parts, because there are quieter moments in the beginning of the book, but then we would go into full gear action later on in this book, where the Drangir are there and they're trying to solve this puzzle of trying to fight this new vegetation like sentient beings, while the Nile on the full attacks and they're attacking the zoo on Valo, and other things are happening, and this poisonous gas. And it was really cool to see how Ram Jomaram was trying to stand up to each situation as it arose. And he was always in the moment, always trying to figure out what he needs to do next. And I loved this lesson that his master tried to impart to him in the beginning of this book, and how by the end of it, we really see a transformation, a growth of character. And I can't wait to see where Daniel José Older or any other author who picks up this character, what they do with him next and where they go from there. And I also enjoy the fact that he's basically a loner. He's a Padawan who is a native of Valo, right? He's chilling there on his own. He doesn't have other Padawans to associate with, and he only interacts with his master briefly, but he mostly resigns himself to his little garage, and he tinkers with machinery, and that's enough for him. He doesn't socialize much, he doesn't interact with people, but here comes this major impact, right? This crazy special event, this attack on his homeworld, where he's forced to work with other people, and now the whole galaxy opens up before him. He understands the greater conflict. He understands how his fellow Jedi Padawans and Jedi Masters are working hardest to bring things into order and peace. And I really enjoyed how he interacts with other young Jedi, Lula Telesola and her friend Zin, and then he tries to figure out, oh, all right, I need to become more than I was before. You know, staying back in my garage and just tinkering with machinery, that's not going to cut it. I have a responsibility as a young person, as a Jedi, to do more to protect the galaxy. So that was really a neat point. I also enjoyed the V18 droid, that he basically tinkers around with his favorite droid to a point where he turns him into this swoop bike, and they actually use him throughout their adventure. And actually in the action sequences, it was really, really cool. Star Wars is known for having eccentric, sometimes goofy, sometimes funny, really interesting droids, and V18 definitely cuts the bill. He definitely makes it. I really enjoyed him a lot. And not only him, but there are also these sentient rodent-like creatures called Bundarks, who are mechanics, and they always in around Ram Jomaram or his droid, and they always try to help out, even in the desperate situations when all the crazy frantic action is happening. They're still there trying to fix the robot or actually upgrade him towards the end of the book. I really had a kick out of them. They were really cool. You never learn their names. They don't quite speak. They have like this gibberish language that is intentionally not translated, but you get the idea that they're sentient, actually. They're not just little creatures, cute creatures running around like porgs. They're sentient and they work on the machinery. So I really enjoyed that even the smallest guys were able to contribute and make this mission a success for everyone. As I mentioned earlier, I also enjoyed the friendship that he makes, this bond with this other Jedi Padawan and her friend through trial. They're a desperate situation and hardship. You know, he befriends Lula Telesola, and all the emotional beats that Daniel José Older addresses between each character, that they need to rely on each other. They need to trust one another. I mean, they just met, right? These two new arrivals come to the planet to Valor to try to help out. And Ram Jomaram, he tries to understand what they're doing, but he also tries to associate with them and try to figure out, how do we work together? And by the end of the book, they form a bond, a relationship, a kind of friendship that I felt was earned. Even with Zine, who is not a Jedi per se, but she is force sensitive, and she's also coming into her own, try to understand how to move forward. What does it mean for her? Like in her culture, it is taboo to tap into the force and use it because they're kind of like anti-Jedi, but they're not necessarily evil. But now she's kind of struggling with this idea of what they have become next. She is hanging around the Jedi Padawans, she's using the Force, yet she's not a Jedi. All interesting story beats, all interesting character developments. From that point forward, everything was nice. Obviously, the action I also enjoyed a lot. You know, when we get, you know, Daniel José Older, he kind of builds this momentum, and we get more and more and more intense action towards the end of the book, where we get to actual Crashpoint Tower. All the exhilarating and fun stuff happening at the end, it really felt rewarding and interesting to me. The last thing I'd like to mention that I really enjoyed about this book was that how it ties into the adult novels. You guys could see them behind me, the adult, the High Republic books. What it really does very effectively, because spoiler alert for those of you who haven't read the previous novels, there are a lot of major prominent Jedi who are showing up during this attack on Valo Republic fair. And even the Coruscant senator, Lena Saw, she's being gravely wounded there. the way that our heroes from this book are navigating the planet Valo as it is being attacked, you kind of recognize and you put together scenes from the other adult books, and you're saying, aha, so this was the person responsible for the tower, and this is how communication was restored, because it's not fully explained in the previous books. So to answer the question, is it an absolute requirement for fans of High Republic books who don't have all the time in the world to read everything? Not really, but it actually adds to the story. But honestly, you won't be missing the most crucial points if you don't read the young adult novels. I personally enjoyed reading them. I would recommend them to all Star Wars fans. If you don't shy away from it and saying, what, this book is for kids, guys, I really, really enjoyed it. Everything here worked together well. The characters, the action was really well put together. So before I give this book my final score, I would like to bring up is one tiny nitpick that I'd like to mention. And I kind of wrestled with the idea, should I even mention it? It's just such a small nitpick. It didn't distract my overall enjoyment of the book at all. But to be frank and to be honest, it did irk me just a little bit, and I found it to be unnecessary. So you know what? Just for the sake of engaging you guys in a stimulating and honest conversation, I thought, you know, why not? Let me bring just this one small detail out there. And it's also a new character being introduced, I believe, for the first time in this book, and it's this non-binary human Jedi Master called Canton Sai. And when I was reading this book, I had no awareness of the fact that there's going to be this kind of non-binary Jedi. So as I was reading, the character is referring to himself or herself as they. Just for a moment, I was honestly genuinely disoriented. Like, hold on a second, this is a kid's book. Is this alien creature having two heads? What is? I'm not even making a pun of this, guys. I'm sincere. I'm being very, very serious about this. I'm like, I was disoriented. What's happening there? And then they start describing that it's actually a human, and it's just a person, and it's a non-binary person. And then I went to Wikipedia and looked at the portrait of this character design, and the person doesn't even look too much like a human. They look very furrowed. He has like a furry face, like some facial hair. So it's kind of difficult to identify. So why am I bringing this up, guys? Because I felt this was a little plug. Whether it was the author himself, he just enjoyed doing this, or whether it was from Disney or Del Rey books, it honestly felt like the book is trying to fill a quota. It's just like, hey, you know, all that pronoun craze that's going on right now, all this LGBTQ representation, let's just drop the bomb here. That's who this Jedi is. But then what really irks me is that that person fades from the story. They have no relevance in what is happening here. So my question is, why then even bring it up? How does it benefit the book or the character? It's one thing if you introduce a character like they did in A Rising Storm, where there's this young boy who is a very minor character, but he is, I believe, he's gay, and he makes a bond relationship with another older boy during this fair. And then when the attack on Valis happens, they try to find each other. There's a moment of struggle there, and a desperate moment where you don't know where their two friends will end up. But by the time they find each other and reunite, there was some gravitas there. I really felt sympathetic to these characters, because it wasn't playing on the fact that they're gay, like this is some kind of a special thing in 2022. It's just two young people who felt a connection, a bond, and they're trying to find themselves among this chaos. And there's a beautiful thing happening, this blossoming relationship between the two. It made sense. In here, what I felt was disruptive. It's not the fact that it's a non-binary human Jedi, which doesn't even make sense for a Jedi who are not supposed to have relationships, right? You know, I rest my case there. But then the really annoying part is that you quickly mention this person, you check the box, and then they disappear from the story. So me as a reader, regardless of what my gender or orientation is, like how does this serve the story? So it really felt like it's playing a little bit into that, whatever you may call it, identity politics or LGBTQ issues. I just felt it was stupid. It didn't warrant itself in the book. It didn't justify itself. It was just very, very on the nose, and I didn't enjoy it a lot. Did it ruin my experience of the book? Hell no. Daniel José Older is a kick-ass author. This was my first experience reading his books, and you gotta say, his next book is coming out. Rest assured, I'll be getting it. I'll be reviewing it. And I suspect most likely my reviews will be very positive. Why? Because the rest of the book is awesome. I just feel that Star Wars as a intellectual property, as a franchise, you're not scoring any points, you're not winning any victories when you're having this sort of representation that doesn't have any bearing on the story, no impact, and it's honestly quite dehumanizing because I couldn't identify with that person. I couldn't understand what their struggle is. I don't understand what they're fighting for. There's just a quick name drop and they waltz away from the story. Okay, I don't think that's an adult, mature way to engage an audience and to enlighten people who are supposedly ignorant to this kind of stuff, which I can't imagine people like that in 2022. Anyway, what is my final rating of this book? Guys, straight 4 out of 4. Once again, Daniel José Older is an excellent author, and what I really enjoy about reading young adult novels in general is that they basically have all the pedigree, all the bells and whistles of a great story. You have character development, you have great action, you have tense moments, and it all builds up to a satisfying conclusion where you feel emotionally rewarded and you want to go on an adventures with these characters once again, right? But the difference is where in adult novels you have a lot more chapters, a lot more room to play around with. The young adult novels, because they're shorter in format, you don't have that much room to mess around. You got to get straight to the point. So it kind of crystallizes and brings to the surface all the fun parts of a Star Wars experience. You get great cast of characters, they're very colorful, they're full of emotional beats, and they have great action, and it all builds up to this greater The High Republic story that it's trying to tell. Anyway, this book gets straight 4 out of 4 score from me. I really enjoyed it a lot. Thank you, Daniel José Older, for delighting us with this really cool story, and I can't wait to read more from him. Anyway, guys, please let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this review? What did you think of this book? And is my reaction about this Cantum Psi non-binary character a little bit too harsh, a little bit too strong? Maybe there's something that I'm not catching. I'm always up for a meaningful discussion with Star Wars fans. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll check you out with my other High Republic reviews. I was sort of lagging behind, preoccupied with my other Star Wars readings, but I'm catching up with the High Republic novels that I promise. I'm reading actually The Fallen Star next. I'm already enjoying it quite a lot, and I'm going to be reviewing it next on the channel. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll catch you next time. Take care, everyone.